Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2E Fantasy. We are also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
On this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are continuing our division previews. Now we are doing the NFC and AFC East, starting with the AFC East. Jeff, let's get kickstarted here with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and I'm calling this the Beasts from the East. So another kind of pop culture reference. Some people may or may not get a pop culture reference from that. But the Buffalo Bills, we both have 14-3 records. Sorry, a little dyslexic there. But so 14 wins. What does Vegas have the Buffalo Bills for their over-win totals?
I shock you, but they have 10.5.
Dang, let's go smash that.
Yeah. So don't pause at the wrong spot here, Jeff.
I'm just glad that our podcasting recording platform cuts out all pauses. So, All right. So Josh Allen, QB1 for the Bills, QB1 overall for the league. James Cook, running back 6, got Ray Davis and Ty Johnson there as well. DJ Moore, brand new into this offense. I have him at wide receiver 18. Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer rounding out the corps there. And we also have Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox returning for feels like their 10th season together in the league. So I think it's only Dalton Kincaid's 4th or 5th season. So, but feels like they've been together forever. Anyone here that you could see breaking out on the Bills? I know you're probably a Skylar Bell guy, and he did not make my depth chart.
I think Skylar Bell probably isn't year 1. It's probably year 2 because I think he'll be the eventual Josh Palmer or Keon Coleman replacement, depending on how the season goes for those two players. This year's going to be about DJ Moore and Khalil Shakir. I mean, you can even see Bell potentially replacing Shakir if they don't want to end up paying him more money. So if I'm going for anyone on this team, it's going to be James Cook or Josh Allen. I do nominally still like Dalton Kincaid. I'm not really sure how I feel about DJ Moore this year. I don't think that I would take him as wide receiver 18, even if you could justify that. I think Shakir's probably a little underrated at your 51 spot for wide receiver. I think he could end up being a little bit higher than that, but that would probably still be in the 40s.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have Tyrell Shavers that is returning from ACL tear as well. So they have a lot of weapons.
Shaver me timbers.
Yep. All right. Let's move on to our second agreement here with the Miami Dolphins. We both have them at a 2-15 record. What is Vegas saying about them? Because it kind of scares me a bit.
Vegas has them at 4.5. So we are 2.5 under that. So
I don't think I would bet that one.
I can see them at 3, but I don't see them getting to 5. So I would bet the under.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see that, but they would have to catch some fire. We know that their quarterback is going to be brand new signing. I don't know how they still did it money-wise, but Malik Willis. Then you're looking at Devon Achane as the running back 5 going into this year for me. Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon will split the backup duties. Unclear how that will fully shake out. We have Malik Washington, I think, will start as the wide receiver 1 for the year. I know we have some disagreement and some discrepancy on that, but Malik to Malik, who doesn't like that? Chris Bell will eventually become the wide receiver 2. Then we have Caleb Douglas and Jalen Tolbert running out the wide receiver core. And then we have in the tight end spot, we have Greg Dulcich and Will Kakmarak.
Will not have you besmirch Jalen Tolbert.
He's besmirched himself enough.
He will at least be in the top 2 wide receiver role for Miami based on how this roster is constructed for this season, and it's debatable whether Malik Washington or Tolbert will be the nominal one until one of these rookies or both of these rookies develop, or they bring in somebody from the outside entirely, for all we know. But how this roster is now, Tolbert and Washington are the top two guys, in my opinion.
Right. We will see. I do like Bell. I think that he actually gets off the NFI list here in camp, so that'll be a good sign for him moving forward. But he has probably long term wide receiver one written on him for them in the future, as long as he comes back healthy.
I also feel Douglas is a little underrated too, but I don't like this rookie class as much as I've liked other rookie classes. And I think a lot of these guys take a year, especially the guys coming off injuries.
Yes, sir. All right. The defending champion New England Patriots, we also are in full agreement on this one with a 9-8 record, and Vegas agrees with us, right?
Vegas has a 10.5 over under.
Okay, that's interesting. Did not see that.
And more people are hitting the over, so I would hit the under. I think 10 wins is probably the high.
Yep. We have their QB, your QB2, Drake May, my QB8, Drake May. At their quarterback position, we have Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, kind of splitting in the RB2 flexus range. Don't really have RB3 since they released Antonio Gibson, so it'll be interesting to see who emerges there. That might be a guy that you just keep in the back of your head and waiting for him to emerge further. But then you have AJ Brown, brand new guy that came over June 1st. Wide receiver 14 for me of Romeo Doubs, Demario Douglas, and Kayshon Beauty, who does appear to be raising up the depth charts, but this is just camp. So we just got to keep that in mind throughout this whole process here. Beauty can kill it. That doesn't mean AJ Brown is going to get all of the reps that he normally would because, who wants to get hurt in camp? And then you have Hunter Henry, which is one of your favorites, and then Eli Raridon, so at tight end. What do you think about their wide receivers behind AJ Brown? Do you think Dobbs is going to become a waste of a signing? Do you think he'll always be the 2 and Beauty will be the 3, or Beauty will be the 2 and Dobbs will be the 3?
I think Dobbs is an overrated player, and I think he was already a waste of a signing. I think they thought that they'd get more interest in shipping off Kayshon Boutte, but I think they're better off keeping Kayshon than Dobbs at this point. But the way this offense functions, they typically spread the ball around, and now they have a number one guy in AJ Brown, which I think will make this offense click a little bit more. And it seems like both Dobbs and Boutte are over Demario Douglas at the moment, but Douglas is the only one that's really a slot receiver. The other guys are all more vertical X's, so it's going to be interesting how they deploy this offense. But again, I don't think Dobbs is better than Boutte. I think he might be the odd man out and he might get released or fall down the depth chart, or maybe they'll find a buyer for Kayshon.
It's got to be down the depth chart, right?
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
it was like a 3-year, pretty big money deal. I think that would kill the cap for the year and maybe next year as well.
Well, they shouldn't have wasted money on him. That was obvious. No.
Yes, sir. Right. And we now have the bottom dwellers that were with the Dolphins here of the New York Jets. You have them at a 2-15 record. I have them at a 3-14 record. I cannot imagine that the Vegas odds would be any more giving than we were.
They were 5.5 over under.
What?
I think they look at all the skill position players that they've drafted and the ones that they still have, and they vastly overrate how good this team is.
Okay. That'll be interesting because I have a position battle here. I don't know how much of a position battle it is, but I have Geno Smith and Cade Klubnik here battling it out. I do expect Cade Klubnik to get some starts this year, even if he doesn't beat out Geno Smith to start the season. You have Breece Hall, who just signed a brand new deal. There are reports that Isaiah Davis is passing Braylon Allen, but Braylon Allen is still not 100% with his ACL tear, so it's just something to be cognizant of there. We also have Garrett Wilson at receiver. New rookie receiver Omar Cooper Jr. is the number 2 receiver. This is where we're going to differ a little bit. I have Isaiah Williams as the wide receiver 3. You would probably have Adon Mitchell as the number 3. I have him as the 4, but as you can see, I have him off 2 wide receiver spots overall. Then tight end here is a little tight this year. No pun intended, because you have Kenyon Sadiq and you this year's rookie coming back from an abdominal injury at tight end 31, and you have tight end 2, Mason Taylor, at tight end 38. So he was last year's rookie.
I actually have Adonai Mitchell right now as a wide receiver 2 for this team starting the year, and everything in camp has indicated that that's 100% the case, and Adonai Mitchell looks good in camp. I do expect Omar Cooper to overtake him at some point in the season, and it's not out of the question that if the Jets season goes sideways, they might be looking to move Garrett Wilson, because I don't know if Garrett Wilson will want to re-sign with them. So that's something to keep in mind. But looking at the depth chart, other than the quarterback position, this looks like a depth chart that most teams would want to have. I mean, I'm sure the Bills would be happy with Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper, Adonai Mitchell, Kenyon Sadiq, Mason Taylor. That would be amazing for really anyone, the Bills, the Patriots, and yet it's the Jets. They have one of the worst head coaches in the league. They have a horribly run franchise, and Geno Smith, their starter, is facing legal trouble of his own. I don't know if he was officially cleared or if that's still an ongoing case. I like Cade Klubnik as a quarterback prospect better than a lot of other draft nicks out there. I don't think he's a perfect prospect, and I don't necessarily think he is super guaranteed to work out, but I think he's interesting to potentially take over if Geno struggles, gets in legal trouble, gets hurt, or if they just decide to change directions and basically tank and see what Cade has before drafting someone next year.
They're going to be in a great spot to do that, most likely. So we will see where they end up this year. But we have the Bills winning the division, the Patriots coming in second, and then somehow the Dolphins and Jets will shake out at the bottom, depending on what victories look like between them.
All right. I think, Jeff, you forget Adonai Mitchell was highly drafted second round wide receiver.
Hey, I wanted to bring it up on our last podcast when we were talking about Caleb Johnson being a highly drafted running back. We're still waiting for Trey Sermon to live up to his draft type of being a third round. So, hey, Jerome, how's it going?
All right, let's move on to the NFC side now. We can start with
East side.
the cap. Well, I'll just say we are 1 win different on the entire AFC East, with just the one difference coming from the Jets. You have 3 wins, I have 2 wins. We're both on the under for Vegas. It's going to be very different for the NFC East. This is going to be one of our bigger variance divisions. So let's start with the Cowboys, where we are probably most similar in the entire division. I have a 9-8 record for them right now. You have a 10-7. So just talk me through why you have one more win than I do. Go over the positions here.
I mean, their offense. Have you not seen their offense? Speaking of their offense, we have Dak Prescott at QB 14, Javonte Williams, Malik Davis, Jaden Blue. See that I moved Davis ahead of Jaden Blue, which is one of my sleepers. So this is kind of being counterproductive this year for me. You have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, both bona fide wide receiver 1s for me. Wide receiver 5, wide receiver 12 overall. Ryan Flournoy. And then we have Tyler Johnson, who's been one of my favorites for a long time, coming in the wide receiver 4 spot over Jonathan Mingo came over from Carolina, where they gave up a pretty decent pick for him. And then we have your buddy Jake Ferguson and Luke Schoonmaker rounding out the offense, but the offense should still remain to be awesome.
I just don't know if they did enough this year to improve from last year. And like I still gave them a better record than they got last year, but I struggle with this Cowboys team because I feel like the offense maybe overperformed because the defense was a paper curtain. I don't think the defense has necessarily improved on paper enough for me. I know they got a new defensive coordinator who, by all measures should be much better than last year's coordinator. I just can't fully buy into this team. I mean, how long is George Pickens going to stay involved and checked in without having a long-term contract? Have they fixed the stadium issue where the sun hits the players straight in the eyes when they're trying to catch balls? Or have they finally installed a little curtain to block the sun? These are just small things, but a lot of this adds up. I think their division got tougher than it was last year too.
Absolutely. So you see them going 9-8, finishing second in the division. I know we're going to get a little bit more into the nitty gritty here.
Yes.
But yeah, so I mean, do you remember when they hired Brian Schottenheimer and how much flack we gave them? I just feel like he's competing, which is crazy because I feel like he's done better than any Dallas coach has done for a long period of time.
On offense.
Yeah. He just needs a good defensive coordinator. When Dan Quinn gets fired from Washington this year, that'd be a good defensive coordinator for Dallas.
Well, this guy might be good. We'll see how it goes. But our split between us is 9.5, and the Vegas over under is exactly 9.5.
Hey, we are Vegas right now, apparently. So we will take that and move on to the Giants here. You're a little more optimistic than I am. You have an 8-9 record. I have a 6-11 record, and a lot of it hinges on the availability and durability of this team with the quarterback Jackson Dart and the running back Cam Skadaboo, along with Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary. Singletary could be cut. Like, I was writing this out, and he's a guy to me that is old, probably expensive. I think he did take a pay cut, but not part of Brian Dable's group anymore. And he came over from Buffalo as part of Brian Dable's stable, the Dable stable. There you go. And so I could see Singletary being cut for a more up and coming running back here if they find one. So something to watch out for. We have Malik Neighbors, we have Malachi Fields, we have Darnell Mooney and Darius Slayton rounding out the wide receivers. We also have Calvin Austin here, so there's a ton of wide receivers here. And I hope that Jackson Dart can spread around the ball, and then he's going to have Isaiah Likely and Theo Johnson, who are probably going to be two of his top targets, actually. So what do you think of their weapon tree here?
I think it's much improved, but like you said, between Jackson Dart, the quarterback, Cam Skadaboo, and Malik Neighbors, it's a very fragile, very talented, very fragile offensive skill group. Cam Skadaboo is more of just like a battering ram, more so than a really good running back. I just think he hits the hole with the violence and knocks people down, but also slams his head and can get concussions. And Dart's not one to also avoid concussions because he does get them himself. And Neighbors is maybe playing week 1, maybe not. He's healthier seeming than I thought he was going to be at this stage, but I'm still worried about his knee. I am interested in Isaiah Likely as a potential dart throw at the tight end position, and a really deep dart throw for me is Malachi Fields because I think he's someone who could be very interesting in fantasy if he blows up.
Yeah, I mean, camp and preseason games are going to be really important to the Giants to see order of their depth chart because I think this is going to be very fluid and we're going to have to see what happens here.
So our difference is 7 wins, or average is 7 wins, I should say. And the over and under is 7.5. So
Okay.
again, we're like right there with Vegas.
I'm going the under, you're going the over, and we will have to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, our average is still under, but yeah, I'm over technically.
You are all right. Anything else on the New York Football Giants?
That's it.
Did both New York teams in one fellow swoop here? Right. What is it, 3 years ago, the NFL champions here, the Philadelphia Eagles. You have them at a 12-5 record. I have them at a 10-7 record. Tell me their over under is 11.
It's 10.5, actually.
Okay. That was pretty close, but I still would go under. You still would go over. But interesting.
Yeah, I think the over is probably safer than the under, but you were very close to the line right there. But 11. Our average is 11, so 11 is half a game from the line too.
Right. So the Eagles' offense is going to be very questionable going into the year. They were not as good as they historically have been. The tush push seems to be a thing in the past. Like, no one's even talking about it anymore. So we'll see if they bring it back this year. That might have just been an offensive line / quarterback with really good squatting technique. Just the perfect storm of being able to tush push their way to multiple first downs. But Jalen Hurts is still behind the line. The line looks very different than it does the last few years. So Kelsey's retired. Others have moved on or been replaced. So they keep a turnstile there. We have Saquon Barkley, Tank Bigsby, and Will Shipley rounding out the running backs. Barkley had a very low total of carries last year, as we had discussed a few podcasts ago, which was pretty surprising. So we'll see if he gets back up to his normal workload or if there was an issue why he couldn't get up to his normal workload. We have ascending to the top of the depth chart. We have Devonta Smith, who I have at wide receiver 31, which you find very laughable. So we'll see how close or how far we are on that. We have Makai Lemon. We have I'm not going to get used to this Malachi. I'm not going to get used to all of the name variations that are very close to one another. Wide receiver 49 for me, the rookie. Dontavian Wicks, I have a little bit later, and Hollywood Brown, I have even a little bit later than that. But we also have Dallas Goedert and Eli Stowers here. So what do you think of the Philadelphia offense this year? Are you more hopeful this year, or do you think it's going to be more of the same from last year?
Well, it's not going to be more of the same. They have a different offensive coordinator. And Jeff, it's an even year. And they're better on offense on even years. They lessened the workload for Saquon last year, so I'm not as worried about him. This year, I like Tank Bigsby. See, now you have me saying Tanks, too. I like Tank Bigsby and Will Shipley as backup running backs. I think they're better than some other teams' backups there, too. I like Smith as a borderline wide receiver 1, and I think we should split the difference and say he's at least a wide receiver 2, because I think you have him a little bit too low. Makai Lemon, 49 is okay. I don't think he's going to have as major of a rookie year as some rookie drafters would hope for, just because he thrives more in the middle of the field, and Justin Hurts is not good at the middle of the field. So I think it'll take a year or so to really get him going, but he will be hopefully really good soon. Dontavian Wicks and Hollywood Brown are uninspiring wide receiver 3s and 4s, but this just means that Dallas Goedert is going to have a really big year, in my opinion. The tight end position might be his last year with the Eagles, and Eli Stowers, I think, is another rookie that might take a year or so to really get going, but I think he will take over for Goddard. Or there's some people who have suggested why not just move him to wide receiver 3 for your team because he played in college more like a wide receiver than a tight end. So that's something to consider as well. They are, in my opinion, way more talented on paper overall as a team than the rest of the teams in their division. Even if they struggle, they still seem to find a way to get 12 or 13 wins a year. So I don't feel bad at all for giving them 12 wins.
Yeah, they got to earn those 12 wins, though. And what you meant to say is thanks you very much for getting the tanks in my head. Or we could just go with Cartavius because that is so much cooler, and you're putting the cart in front of the horse there.
All right, Jeff. You haven't been a dad that long and you're already milking all the dad jokes here.
Don't have a
I'm
cow
I
about it.
I'm a dad thrice over and I still haven't made as many jokes about this as you have.
I may or may not have watched the second Austin Powers recently, and maybe this is where some of the dad jokes are coming from because Dr. Evil has some epic dad jokes. Everyone should go back and watch that this week. That is their homework.
And don't ever watch Austin Powers 3. And if they make an Austin Powers 4, I don't think it'll be as good as the first two. So
I would agree. I think the second one is my all-time favorite, though. Like, I used to be able to quote it line by line, but we can get back to football here with the Washington Commanders. And you have them at a 5-12 record, which is actually a little bit surprising. I have them at a 7-10 record, so I'm giving them a little bit more of a bounce back. We have quarterback Jaden Daniels, and then the wide receiver spot here is gonna be not the wide receiver spot, the running back spot. Sorry, skipped ahead of myself here. It's gonna be very interesting with Rashad White, Jerome Ford, Katron Allen, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I have Jerome Ford being the odd man out, but I have it going White, Allen, Krosky-Merritt right now. So that's my thought there. What are your thoughts?
I have Krosky Merritt 1. I have White 2. And Kaychon Allen and Jerome Ford both splitting third back and fourth back. I think Kaytron could earn a bigger role as the season progresses if Merritt struggles, and I think White is really only a receiving back. I don't think, yes, he'll get some carries, but not a significant amount. I don't really care for Rashad White personally. I would avoid him unless he's dirt cheap and like a best ball. The most upside to me is Katron Allen. It is underrated that Jerome Ford is there. So they've got, like, in my opinion, 4 really great third running backs and not a good 1 or 2.
Allen could be a 2, so
Yeah.
he has to ascend though. So agreed. And
Let's
then they're go ahead.
No, I was gonna say let's talk about another weak area on the team. Their wide receivers and tight end positions. They did fire their tight end coach recently and moved, I think, Wes Welker over to tight end coach to replace him, which is an interesting move. But they have scary Terry McLaurin still has their number 1 wide receiver who I think is going to have another bounce back year. Antonio Williams, the rookie, likely the wide receiver 2. I agree with you with that spot, although I'm not sure if he'll be a wide receiver 48 like you have pinpointed here. I think that might be high. Luke McCaffrey, who hopefully is higher than wide receiver 96 because I think it's his 3rd year in the league. And Trey Burks, who most people had as the number 2 for this team prior to the draft, former first round pick, and now you have him as the wide receiver 4 on the team. I would like to see them add to this position, maybe with Stephon Diggs, who's from the Washington area originally. I held out hopes for Brandon Ayuk, but Ayuk decided to go crazier than Antonio Brown, so I don't expect that anymore. Diggs would be the best case scenario, I think, for this team. They did upgrade their tight end position on paper with Chig Okonkwo, formerly from the Titans, and now it's a chance to have a huge role with a better quarterback with the Commanders. You have him as your tight end 18, which is pretty optimistic. And the disappointing guy here, Ben Sinnott, or Sinal, I don't know which one it is, but he hasn't really shaken out, and I don't really expect him to at this point. Jeff, what do you make of the receiving options here?
So there's a heavy heavy room shortly, and it's going to blow up all of my projections for this team because I'll have to start over essentially with adding a wide receiver that big. And I think it bumps down Treylon Burke. I think it bumps down Luke McCaffrey. And I think it makes Antonio Williams not even viable in year one. But I think Diggs and McLaurin will be okay.
Yeah, if Diggs goes there, I'm not gonna have them at a 5-12 record. I'll have them more like you at a 7-10. You might go higher than 7-10 in that case, but right now, pre-Diggs signing or pre anything like that, Vegas has them at a 7.5 over and under, which I think at the moment is optimistic.
Absolutely. What did you say was the Vegas win?
7.5.
Okay. So
And
I'm pretty close.
our average is 6.
Yeah. Still going under though. But we think Dan Quinn will be one of the first coaches fired this cycle. So that's our thought. If they do go 5-12, I think he is the first coach fired. Aaron Glenn is right up there as well.
I don't know how you can fire him considering the team that they built around him has not been good.
Yeah, he probably has some fingerprint on that team though.
Yeah.
I think that the Bengals coach could be on the hot seat. I think Aaron Glenn easily could be on the hot seat this year. So there's some coaches that need to watch out. Arizona's coach could be one and done, like given the talent and everything. So we'll see there too. If it goes off the rails, you could see him be one and done.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up both AFC and NFC East divisions. This one, we were 7 wins off, I believe. So AFC East, we were 1 off. NFC East, 7. That's the reverse of last episode where the NFC North, we were only 1 off, and the AFC North, we were 6 off. So interesting that it's not stuck to a conference, but we are consistently close on one division and a little off on the other.
Absolutely. It shows that we have some of these divisions down to like a T, it feels like, and then some of them have some discrepancy that could happen.
Which, I mean, we'll do another projected standings closer to the season, either late August or early September. And we'll do like a last go, if not before. But for now, that does it for this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading and listening to this episode. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy and with our handle at N2E Fantasy on all social media platforms. Please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.